What if I told you that Brazil's biggest weakness heading into FIFA World Cup 2026 is not their defense? It's not their goalkeeper. It's not their coach. And it's not even the pressure of carrying the expectations of an entire football obsessed nation. In fact, the problem is something almost nobody is talking about, a hidden issue that has quietly hurt Brazil for years, an issue that could once again stop them from winning the biggest trophy in football. Now, before Brazilian fans rush to the comments section, hear me out. Uh, because on paper, Brazil looks terrifying. They have world class talent, elite attackers, creative midfielders, explosive wingers, future superstars. And every time a World Cup approaches, millions of fans around the world predict the same thing. This is Brazil's year. Yet, somehow, the story keeps ending the same way. Disappointment, sorrow, heartbreak, and another 4 years of waiting. So, today we are going to uncover the biggest weakness in Brazilian football, the weakness that nobody wants to admit, and the reason why Brazil could once again fail at FIFA World Cup 2026. Let's begin. To understand the problem, we first need to understand the expectations. No country in football history carries more pressure than Brazil. 5 World Cups, countless legends, a football culture unlike anything else on earth. For generations, Brazil has been viewed as football royalty. When Brazil enters a tournament, fans don't ask if they can compete. They ask if they can win. Anything less than a World Cup often feels like failure. And that expectation creates a unique problem because every Brazilian team is compared to the greatest teams in history, the teams of Pel, the teams of Ronaldo, the teams of Ronaldinho, the teams that dominated world football, the teams that made winning look easy. But football has changed. The modern game is faster. They read more tactical, more organized, more demanding. And this brings us to Brazil's biggest weakness, their identity crisis. Yes, an identity crisis. For decades, Brazil was known for beautiful football, creative dribbling, attacking freedom, individual brilliance. Dead players who could decide games with moments of magic. That style made Brazil famous. It made fans fall in love with football. But in modern football, talent alone is not enough. You need structure. You need tactical discipline. You need balance. And this is where Brazil often struggles. For years, Brazil has been caught between two identities. Should they play traditional Brazilian football or should they become more European in their tactical approach? The result is often neither. Not fully creative, not fully organized. And against elite opponents, that uncertainty becomes dangerous. Let's look at recent World Cups. In 2014, Brazil suffered one of the most shocking defeats in football history, the 7-1 loss, a result that still haunts Brazilian football. Many people blame the defense, bent, Twitter, others blame the coach. But the deeper issue was tactical imbalance. The team lost control, the structure collapsed, and Germany exposed every weakness. Fast forward to 2018. Brazil had one of the most talented squads in the tournament. Many believed they could win. Instead, they were eliminated in the quarterfinals. Then came 2022. Once again, Brazil entered as one of the favorites. Once again, they had world class attackers. Once again, expectations were sky high. And once again, they went home earlier than expected. 3 different tournaments, different players, different players, different coaches, different circumstances. Yet the ending remained surprisingly similar. Why? Because the underlying issue never fully disappeared. Now let's talk about the current generation. There's no doubt Brazil has incredible talent. Their attacking options are frightening. Their technical quality is among the best in the world. They can score goals against anyone. They can create chances from nothing. They can produce moments of brilliance that leave defenders helpless. But tournaments are rarely won by brilliance alone. World Cups are often decided by organization, discipline, decision making, and emotional control. Think about recent champions: Argentina, France, Germany, Spain. These teams had stars, but they also had structure. Every player understood their role. Every movement had purpose. Every phase of play was organized. When pressure increased, their systems remained stable. Brazil sometimes relies too heavily on individual moments. And that's a dangerous habit because knockout football is ruthless. You don't get multiple chances. First, one mistake can end everything. One lapse in concentration, one tactical error, one moment of panic, and the dream is over. Another hidden problem is leadership. Now, don't misunderstand this point. Brazil has leaders, experienced players, strong personalities, cute temper. But leadership during difficult moments is different. The real question is this: what happens when Brazil falls behind? What happens when the crowd becomes nervous? What happens when momentum shifts to the opponent? Champions remain calm. Champions stay organized. Champions trust the system. Brazil has sometimes struggled with this. When things go well, they look unstoppable. When things go badly, they can become vulnerable. And elite teams know this. The best opponents don't fear Brazil's talent. They fear Brazil at their best. But they also know that if they can create frustration, the game changes. This brings us to another major issue: efficiency. Mm. Brazil often creates plenty of opportunities, but modern football rewards efficiency more than style. A team can dominate possession and still lose. A team can create 10 chances and still get eliminated. We've seen it happen repeatedly. The margins at World Cups are tiny. The difference between winning and losing is often one moment, one finish. जुड़िए current shah, fun में, but there one save, one decision, one defensive action. And when the margins are that small, tactical discipline becomes everything. Now let's compare Brazil with some of the favorites for 2026. Argentina has championship experience. They know how to manage pressure. France has extraordinary depth. They can replace world-class players with other world-class players. England has one of the strongest generations in its history. Spain possesses a highly structured system. Even emerging nations are becoming increasingly difficult to beat. The gap between elite teams is smaller than ever. Talent alone no longer guarantees success. That is exactly why Brazil's identity crisis matters. Because while other nations know exactly who they are, Brazil is still searching for the perfect balance. Can they play beautiful football? Absolutely. Can they dominate weaker opponents? Of course. Can they win the World Cup? Without question. But can they consistently overcome elite opponents in consecutive knockout matches? That remains the biggest question. Now, let's imagine the ideal scenario for Brazil in 2026. The squad stays healthy, key players enter the tournament in top form. The tactical system finally clicks. Confidence grows with every victory. Momentum builds. The pressure becomes fuel rather than a burden. If that happens, Brazil could absolutely lift the trophy. No team wants to face a confident Brazil. No team wants to defend against their attacking talent. Meritor. No team wants to deal with their speed and creativity. But there is another possibility: a difficult quarterfinal, a tactical battle, a match decided by details. The kind of game where organization matters more than flair. The kind of game where patience matters more than talent. The kind of game where championships are won. And that is where Brazil's biggest weakness could reappear. Not because they lack talent, not because they lack quality, but because they still haven't fully solved the question of who they want to be, a team built around freedom or a team built around structure. Until they answer that question, doubts will remain. And those doubts become dangerous in World Cup football because history has shown us something important. The most talented team doesn't always win. The most famous team doesn't always win. The team with the biggest stars doesn't always win. The team that wins is usually the one that finds the perfect balance between talent and discipline, between creativity and organization, between emotion and control. That balance is what separates champions from contenders. And right now, Brazil is still trying to find it. So, can Brazil win FIFA World Cup 2026? Absolutely. They have the players, they have the tradition, they have the talent, they have the experience. Everything required to become world champions is there. But unless they solve the weakness nobody talks about, unless they finally discover a clear football identity, unless they find the balance that recent champions have mastered, the same story could repeat itself once again. Another talented squad, another wave of expectations, another tournament filled with hope, and potentially another heartbreaking exit. But what do you think? Is Brazil's identity crisis their biggest weakness? Or is there another problem that could stop them from winning FIFA World Cup 2026? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with other football fans. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.